harvesting green beans this morning. Planting green beans in April and harvesting green beans in June and throughout June and July because we do several successive plantings. It's just one of my favorite things to do. This is my favorite harvest. I like to usually come out here early in the morning through the years, spend about 2 hours picking a long bed like this, usually by myself. It's quiet time. I'll listen to music. This is when I listen to good podcasts about health and wellness. And this morning I have my good friend Tim with me, so I'm not alone. We could actually have a date in the green beans.
It's a date. We used to do milk dates. Now we do green bean dates, or any kind of
We'll
date.
take a date wherever we can get one.
Remember my video? You gotta stay smitten.
My love language is quality time. So see what's happening right now? Quality time.
Mine is.
You didn't know this was going to end up being a marriage video, did you?
My love language is quality time as well.
Nope.
Yes, it is. Spending time together.
No, but the green beans, they're looking great. This is the first harvest of the year. And so I pick them and then take them inside and the kids start snapping away. And that's a fun time when they start snapping. As they snap, I take bowlfuls and start washing them off real good and preparing them for canning. And then I usually put them in the refrigerator overnight and can them the next day because we get too many that I can't do the whole process in one day. Better to do it in one day if you can, but doing it the next day is okay too. So we'll get all these picked, washed, snapped today, and tomorrow I'll can them. Sometimes the kids listen to an audio drama like a lamplighter theater while they're snapping. Sometimes they make up things to do, games to do. Singing songs through the years has been a fun one. I walk in and they're all singing songs while they're snapping. This is one of those seasons that I absolutely love, even though it's a beautiful morning this morning. It's not too hot, but this is the hot time of year. But doing green beans is a treat. Such a treat, such a blessing from the Lord, and we get to enjoy these all winter long. We still have green beans from last year, canned, that we're enjoying. It's a great harvest to do, and the green beans grow super easily for us, thankfully.
A peach tree. Let's say half the tree just snapped due to weight, storm, and it's not the healthiest of trees. Gotta take it apart and move it. The best thing to do with all this greens is give it to some goats or cows or whatever, but for some reason I heard that peaches are toxic or bad for goats. Maybe it's not true, but just in case, I'm gonna give it to my chickens because the chickens like green peaches anyway, so I'm gonna throw it into my chickens. Remember, my chickens are pinned up, so I take them greens. So here's some greens. There's more coming.
Well, we're done harvesting for today, and now we get to start snapping. Look at that. 2 big baskets today. The other one's a little bigger than this one. What a blessing.
I'm a cigar.
Oh yes, you have to smoke.
Are you not? Hmm?
I don't see the point, I suppose.
The girl doesn't even go to church.
The waves and the sea are church enough. I find it hard to believe in a being I can't see.
I do enjoy a good mystery.
Saw her in town.
She was the fisher girl who ran out in front of our carriage.
I can't imagine why anyone would.
Do you have any friends?
Indeed. My dear friend Kathy.
Pray tell, what other things that interest you? What do you do with your days?
Besides risking your life for injured seagulls.
I explore.
She comes back smelling of halibut.
I understand what I think is important.
Oh, look at all these green beans from today. This thing is heavy. That's a lot of green beans. It's like a weight, heavy weight. Let's see how much it weighs. How much do you weigh? 27.8 pounds. That's a lot. I hope to get 28 quarts canned out of this, but I'll let you know after I can them. That's a lot. The kids did a good job snapping all those. Now I get to wash them. That's heavy. All right, so this is all I do is I start washing. They're already pretty clean. We don't spray our green beans. We don't put any chemicals on anything. So we had a good rain last night and this morning. They're already pretty clean. So really, I'm just rinsing them off. This takes a little while, but kids had a great time when they snapped them. They love to sing songs and talk and listen to audio dramas. I wash them and then I'll get to can them. So this is a pretty fun harvest. Pretty easy, pretty fun. Very rewarding because we get to eat off of these all winter long.
Hello?
Hey, what are these things called that we use on the back porch with the propane? What are they actually called? Camp Chef, but what's it called?
Camp stoves?
Camp stoves. Okay, powered by propane tanks? Not like an official name.
Yeah, camp stove, it's... yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess so.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye. That's what they're called. Good morning. It's green bean canning day. I love this day. Used to can them inside every year and it got so hot in there, and canning outside has been a game changer. So we got these outdoor propane powered
Camp stove.
camp stoves. Yeah, they're called Camp Chef. And I use these to can on, which is awesome. And it's a beautiful day out here, so I get to enjoy the weather, look at the animals, look at the gardens while I can. So beautiful. All the green beans have been snapped. They've been in the refrigerator overnight. And then this morning, I've already put my jars in the pots over here with water, and they are over there heated so that I can use hot jars so they're nice and sterile to use. And then I will can in this large canner over here. Green beans you pressure can, not water bath, but you pressure can them. I have a large one, so I can do 14 jars at one time. And that's been awesome too. I know a lot of people have canners that hold 7. That's great. For us as a big family, I need one of these huge ones so I can can twice as much at one time. So today, hopefully I'll be running this twice and we'll get a total of 28 quarts by the end of the day. So we're gonna get started taking our jars out of the pots right now, bring them over to the table and fill them up with green beans. Here we go. All right, I've got the first 7 jars. I do 7 at a time and fill them up, put them in the canner, and then I'll get the other 7 out. They're gonna stay hot for now. If you wanna be technical about it, get 1 jar out at a time, fill it up, and then put it over there. I do it pretty quickly, so I don't worry about getting them out at 1 at a time, but if you want to be technical, you can get 1 out at a time so they stay nice and hot. But again, I get 7 out, do those 7, then get the other 7. All right, the process is started. I am filling my jar up with green beans. I just guesstimate, but fill them up close to the top. And in a minute, we're gonna put some salt on those, and then we'll fill them up with boiling water. I use canning and pickling salt. So for quart jars, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt on top of these and then fill them up with boiling water. I like to use this funnel just because it helps me not be so messy. I will need it for the water for sure, but I love to use it for putting the food in as well in the jars. These funnels are amazing. I've used them so many times through the years. All right, also, this is the book that I use for canning through the years, the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. This is the one book that I've used through the years. I've gotten a few recipes from friends too, but mainly this is it. It gives you great instructions. I have pages memorized. Green beans, in my book, page 385. So I know exactly where to turn every year. And even though I know how to do it, I still check myself every year so that I don't mess up. I've messed up recipes before because I think I had them memorized. One year I did chili, and I knew to put chili powder in, but I grabbed the cinnamon instead. Oh, it kind of ruined the top of the chili. Thankfully the dog liked it. I scooped out the top. But anyway, I learned my lesson then to always check my recipes, so I always consult my canning book every time, even though I know what I'm doing now. Okay, here's the boiling water. I've just been boiling water and then keeping it nice and hot. And the boiling water will go on top of the beans. If you buy a canning set, any canning set will come with these two things, which are essential. This is what you use to measure. Some things will say make sure there's 1 inch of headspace from the top. Some will say 1/4 of an inch of headspace. Green beans need 1 inch of headspace. So this right here shows me that I have 1 inch of headspace around the top. Okay, and if sometimes I can pack a little extra green beans in there if I need to, then all I'm gonna do is just wipe the lid right there. It's a hot jar, so be careful. Wipe the lid. And then I am ready. I have my clean and sterilized lids and bands. I use new lids every year, but the bands, you can reuse them. And you just screw it on to fingertip tightness. If I ever fill up with too much water, I can just take a spoon and scoop a little bit out. If you've seen some of our other videos, you know that we say if we can do it, you can do it. We used to be scared of laying hens, for real. Now I can't imagine being scared of laying hens, but once upon a time we were. Well, once upon a time I was intimidated by canning as well. And I learned how to water bath can first from a neighbor who was gracious to teach me and let me watch her. I think we made salsa for the first time, or maybe strawberry jam. Maybe both. I think she let me do both with her. But then when I got that large canner that holds 14 quarts, I didn't know a single person who had a canner that big, and I could not find anything to tell me how much water goes in the bottom, and I was so intimidated. And honestly, I was so nervous I was going to explode the canner, I cried the first time I canned green beans. Now canning green beans are my favorite thing to do. This is my favorite harvest, and to be out here and early in the morning and canning, this is lovely. But I'm telling you, I used to be super intimidated by it. Once I did it, I realized it's not that bad. Pretty much like everything else. So if you've never canned before, give it a try. Green beans are a great place to start with a pressure canner. So anyway, just so you know, this was not natural for me. I had to learn all this from scratch. And if you get a big canner, just so you know, you put the same amount of water in those as you do a smaller canner that holds 7 quarts. So I put about 1.5 inches water, 2 inches, 1 inch to 2 inches, but so about 1.5 inches of water in the bottom. You're good to go. So in case you couldn't find it like me, that's something you can know about the big canner.
It's time to harvest carrots today. We planted a few mounds of them back in February, and now it is mid-June and we are harvesting them. So I planted them very close together and didn't end up really thinning them, so we have a lot of carrots. And this row, they're not super big, but they're nice, medium, very edible sized carrots. We're using the broad fork tool to go deep in the dirt and loosen everything up, so I'm just pulling out handfuls of carrots. I just pulled this right out of the ground, super easy. These are little babies. But we are going to preserve them in some different ways. We're canning them just in the pressure canner with salt, and then we're gonna try fermenting some and also making carrot pickles. So we will see how that turns out, and then we'll refrigerate some too, just for snacks and lunches, and have lots of carrots to eat.
All right, all the green beans are in the canner now, the ones that I can fit in here. So there's 14 quarts, 7 on the bottom. There's a divider in the middle, 7 on top. There's no water all the way up. The water's only in the bottom. And now I'm going to put the lid on. There's an arrow right here. There's an arrow on the top. Now you tighten the opposite ones at the same time. Just tight enough to keep it on there. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit, and we're going to let this start venting. Then we'll come back in a little while and put the pressure gauge on there. And this is the part that takes a long time. It is not hard, but this is where my babysitting job begins. And I sit here and I babysit the canner for a while. So now I can do other things like school with the kids, read a book, listen to a podcast, other things I need to do, but I've got to watch this canner and keep my eyes on it for the next long while. The reason I have to watch the canner or babysit it is because I don't want the pressure to go too high. This first part I don't have the pressure gauge on there yet, but once I do, the pressure is going to rise and I have to get it to a certain level, and it's got to maintain that certain level for 25 minutes. Then once it's done, then it can just return back. I can turn the heat off and I don't have to watch it at that point. But it is important to watch it. Keep your eye on it every few minutes while it's at this stage of actually doing its job so that it doesn't go over the allotted pressure and it would explode. Never had a problem with that as long as I'm watching it. Also, I wanted to mention jars. What kind of jars I use. I use ball canning jars and ball lids. I like wide mouth jars the best. Doesn't matter if you use wide mouth, regular mouth, but I like wide mouth and I like using quart jars because we're a big family, so we do a lot of the time, so it makes more sense. I've never tried another kind of jar. I've never tried another kind of lid, so I am good with ball canning jars and lids. I do plan to experiment this summer with reusable lids, and I'll let you know later how those do. But so far, these are the ones that I use. But after using these lids, you have to throw them away every time. You can save the rings, but you can't save the lids each time, so you have to buy new ones of these. All right, these are done. Look at these beauties. They are ready to be put in the box. And I let them sit untouched for 24 hours before we pick them up. Look at those. Isn't that pretty? They look so good. Boxes. Let me say one thing about boxes. Always keep your boxes. No matter what, keep your boxes. If you have to tape them up, a lot of mine are taped up and reinforced around the sides. Reuse and reuse and reuse these boxes. It's the only thing that fits these jars really well. Nothing else is like it. So, somebody told me that years ago, and I've always listened, and I've done whatever I can to preserve these boxes. So, keep your boxes for sure. You hear that pop sound? That's a good thing. That means it is sealed just right. Some of them haven't sealed yet, but they will seal within the next few minutes. I've never had a problem with a jar not sealing. I have had a problem with a jar in the past breaking. Usually once every summer a jar will break in a canner, a water bath canner or a pressure canner. And that's just because I reuse the jars so much. If they get nicked and there's a little spot on it that I don't notice, that can happen and a jar can break. So usually once a summer I break a jar. Never have a problem with them sealing. If you follow the directions in the ball canning book, you'll be good to go.
I like the 22.
All right, let's do this one. Green beans. You are funny.
You're hilarious. Oh my goodness.
The green beans are ready now. We've let them sit undisturbed for 24 hours. Look at them. They look great. Those look nice. We got 35 quarts when we canned yesterday. Plenty more to go this summer, so that's awesome. This is my very favorite part. I'm a little nerdy about this. I love to write on the jars after they're done. It's just a feeling of satisfaction that it is complete. So on these, I've just written green beans 2024. I usually do not let the kids help me. That's how much I like this part. But today, I'm letting Knox write on the jars. Do you like that? So come here, let's write together.
Can I just write green beans?
I'm gonna write green beans and you write 2024. Here you go. Right there. 2024.
I might mess up.
No, don't mess up. You're gonna do great. 2, 0, 2, 4. You did it!
That's mine.
That's great. All right, so this batch is complete. What are you doing? Who said you You can write on my jars. What are you doing? You wrote on that one all by yourself? Let me see. Move your hand. You did that. You did that. You're doing great. All right, keep it up. You want to finish?
Yeah, the orange one's
We're
not
doing
so
carrots today. This is exciting. I don't like carrots, but I've said that anything we can grow, I will eat. So I'm gonna eat carrots. They're gonna be good. Thankfully the family likes carrots though. And Hannah grew a lot of carrots this year. Look at these. This is from one row, maybe not even a whole row. We still have more to dig out, but we're gonna can carrots. So this is gonna be a first for me. Thankfully I know how to can now, but I've never done the carrots. So we washed them, we scrubbed them. Now we're going to chop them up, and then I'm gonna can them just like I did with green beans, with boiling water and some salt, and we'll see how it turns out. So here we go, we're gonna get started on chopping them up. Mother's Day passed. Not sure what the next holiday is to get a gift, but I could use a new cutting board, as you can see. Not that pretty, but it works.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day? Yeah, a long time from now.
Christmas.
Christmas. It's a little while, but
July
hey.
4th. Hey,
No,
there.
I think we can make it last
It's
till
a-
Christmas.
It's a Mother's Day type gift, so you can hang in there.
Well, Father's Day is almost here, so maybe
Oh, really?
for your Father's Day, you could
Yeah,
give
can
me
y'all
a
do the
Mother's
cutting
Day.
board, children?
Instead of a tie.
Or black socks. Black socks and a cutting board.
The really nice thing about cutting up scraps, so all these ends of the carrots, they just go to the chickens. Or the compost pile if you have one of those, so nothing has to go to waste on the farm. That's food scraps. Some things do go to waste, but not food. We're doing the fun part with the carrots. Filling up the jars with water and putting the lids and the rings on them, and we're gonna can them. So this is the first time doing this. This is exciting. Always loving adding new colors and new things to what we can and preserve and put up for the winter. Is such a blessing in winter days when we don't have things growing in the garden, just to go into the pantry and to find the things that we can. I mean, look at this. Look how beautiful that is. It's not done yet, but it will be in about an hour. Isn't that lovely? We can just go take these out during the winter and enjoy. Knox, what is your favorite thing about carrots?
Eating them.
Eating them, yes. Do you like to eat them fresh from the garden, or do you like to eat them in a salad?
I like to eat them fresh from the garden.
Fresh from the garden. What else do you like to eat fresh from the garden?
Okra.
Okra, yeah, that's yummy. Well, we got a great start on harvesting and preserving so far this season. We've gotten 47 quarts of carrots thus far and 35 quarts of green beans. I think I'm done with canning carrots for the season. We're gonna pickle some and ferment some, but the green beans are just getting started. I hope to get 3 times as many as what we have so far. I harvested more this morning, and then they were snapping and we got them washed, so we'll be canning some more of those. So we love eating green beans. There's nothing like going into the pantry in the winter and just taking jars right off your shelf. So if you've never canned before, I definitely would encourage you to give it a shot. Just try something easy. Green beans are a great place to start. Salsa, if you like fresh salsa, and then try to can it so you can open it up in the winter. We praise the Lord for a harvest around here, and it's such a blessing from start to finish to watch things grow and then to finish it off, and especially to go into the pantry in the winter and eat it. What a blessing.